All right, so we are back on the Weight Concept presented by The Ring Magazine. And folks, David Benavidez, El Monstro, is back. He just systematically broke down, brutalized, and defeated Anthony Yarde in one of the most dominant ways possible. And I'm not talking about a Devin Haney domination where he's putting people to sleep and not inside the ring. Not a shot. I'm just playing. Congrats to Devin Haney winning a belt in his move to 147 pounds. 3-division champion. That cannot be ignored. He is an extraordinary talent. What he does next, I have no idea. Maybe work on some Xanax commercials. Okay, I'm playing. Bam Rodriguez was also dominant tonight. And Abdullah Mason's an absolute dog. And I'm spelling that D-A-W-G because that man gets down and throws bombs with people every single fight. Sam Noakes won a few fans tonight as well. But the main story and the only story that we're going to talk about today is David Benavidez as he stops Anthony Yarde in the 7th round of this main event. What just happened and what's next for Benavidez? Those questions got answered tonight and more, so let's talk about it. The breakdown. Let's go. All right, so main event time, Anthony Yarde and David Benavidez. I thought potentially any of the 4 fights on the main card could be main events, maybe not Abdullah Mason, but main events for a lot of different cards, but they're packed into one Night of the Champions card for Ring 4. A fantastic event that I think, again, showcased the best and brightest in the sport of boxing, and from young to veteran to elite. You saw it all here, but David Benavidez ends off the night, which was the right call because, let's be honest, the Devin Haney-Brian Norman Jr. fight left a little bit to be desired as far as the action-packed card that was around it. But nevertheless, this was the main event, and David Benavidez and Anthony Yarde showed up for a war. That was the talking point leading into this fight, that both guys were going to swing it out, that both guys were going to be in there and looking for blood, that both guys were going to showcase the old school of boxing, and that's kind of exactly what happened, at least on the side of David Benavidez. Anthony Yarde, he welcomed that fight, but didn't necessarily get as fully into it as Benavidez did. As the fight started, it was a more patient feeling out process in the first round for both guys, but you saw the tempo of the fight. You saw how it was going to go from start to end, which was David Benavidez on the front foot and Anthony Yarde on the back foot. And that was pretty much the story of this fight. Anthony Yarde trying to be a counterpuncher off his back foot. I'm not sure what the reasoning was for that. Maybe, okay, we walk Benavidez into some shots and maybe we hurt him off the back foot and then change the tempo of the fight. But when you're fighting David Benavidez, you have to stop him in his tracks. If he gets the train rolling down the tracks, it's over with. It's him 18-wheeler going full speed ahead, combination punching to the body and upstairs as well. There's not much you can do about that when he is in that flow, when he is dogging it out on the front foot and landing heavy volume. If you're not able to do that and you're looking for that one shot off the back foot on the ropes, you're going to get dominated in a way that Anthony Yarde kind of got dominated tonight. He didn't have the power to back David Benavidez off, and it's not to say that Anthony Yarde didn't land punches and he wasn't there for the fight. He was. I just thought it was bad strategy and worse execution because he couldn't land a punch that got the respect of David Benavidez. He landed good punches, but not one that would hurt Benavidez like a David Morrell landed on him or even earlier in his career when he was dropped. So it wasn't like the strategy was proving to be successful, and they kept going back to it. Meanwhile, David Benavidez started to heat up. As he does in fights, he starts little by little to break you down with that pressure, with that pace, and with that volume. And it was a masterful display. When Benavidez gets it going, when he is on the front foot and he's looking for blood, man, he is one of the most special guys to watch because it's devastating intent. Round after round, you saw him back Anthony Yarde into the corner, land combinations, bloody his face up. I'm pretty sure he broke Anthony Yarde's nose, swelled his eye up and everything else. And at the end of the round, after David Benavidez had walked the dog on him for, a good 2 minutes or so straight, you'd see Benavidez look at Anthony Yarde like, yeah, I got more of that coming next round. Now, you thought that was the worst of it? I got more for you coming. Like, it was pretty surreal to watch how, as the rounds went on more and more, David Benavidez got more and more devastating, more and more brutal as the fight went on. And as we got into the 6th round, I think Anthony Yarde caught Benavidez. Maybe it was the 5th, I'm not sure, maybe 5th or 6th. Caught him with a nasty, sneaky counter right hand, which was, again, a lot of what Anthony Yarde was doing. Maybe he was trying to conserve energy because he is a bit of a bigger light heavyweight and he's really muscle bound. So maybe he's thinking, okay, if I can get him into the last part or the last half of the fight, then I can really turn it up. But the problem with David Benavidez is, as you trying to turn it up, he turns it up as well, and he can go to a level that these other fighters at 168, at 175, and as we'll find out after the fight at 200 pounds, they can't go to. He's got a VIP floor. When he presses that button, that elevator keeps going up, and there is no ceiling to stop it. And that's probably his greatest weapon. Like, You look at the two guys in the ring and you think Anthony Yarde, the beast from the East, this massive, muscled-up light heavyweight, and David Benavidez, big guy, tall guy, but looks a bit soft to the midsection, doesn't have a ton of muscles, and he doesn't need them. He kind of has the perfect build for this style of fighting. Heavy volume punching, muscle memory to turn shots over. There were questions coming into this fight about David Benavidez's punching power. He hadn't stopped anyone at 175. Can he punch with these guys at 75? Will his power carry over, or was he just a weight bully at 168? Turns out he got rid of Anthony Yarde, who stood there with Artur Beterbiev and traded punches, and he made it look easy. As we got into that 5th and 6th round, like I said, Anthony Yarde caught him with a counter right hand, and he cut the bridge of David Benavidez's nose. And in the post-fight interview, David Benavidez said, yeah, that's the moment where I said, okay, you want to shoot out? Let's go. Already winning probably all the rounds. I mean, you could say Yarde maybe won one round. I don't know which one you'd give him, but I thought David Benavidez was pitching a shutout and then decided to go to that next level. Again, Anthony Yarde, you kind of asked yourself, is he not letting his hands go because he's a little tentative of what's coming back, or is he trying to wait out? Benavidez, we get into that 6th and then eventually the 7th round, and you start to understand, oh, this is why Anthony Yarde didn't want to get on his front foot. This is why he didn't want to plant in the center of the ring and go back and forth with David Benavidez, because he's going to lose that fight. The more times you open up to throw, the more times Benavidez will counter you, and he's going to throw 3 to 4 to 5 punches to your 1. He's got incredible hand speed at 175. And again, devastating when it adds up. The more the numbers go, and again, maybe I'm wrong, but it's not only just the numbers, but it feels like he gets more devastating. The power starts to hit harder as he goes through the fight. And they get to the end of the 6th round, and one of the craziest things I've ever seen, and again, you see some of these highlights from Benavidez fights, he's in the clinch, and Anthony Yarde has pinned David Benavidez's right hand under his left hand, and Benavidez on the other side is like, cool, you can hold this arm, we're in the clinch, I'm going to throw 700 left hooks in a row, and they're going to all land to the body and upstairs. It was like a video game, the way he just kept going to the well. Referee wasn't separating them because one guy was working in the clinch and one guy wasn't, and Benavidez was trying to pop the head off a Pez dispenser. He was lighting Anthony Yarde up with that left hand. And again, you started to see it in rounds 4, 5, and 6. He was breaking Anthony Yarde down more and more and more. You started to see the physical anguish on the face and body of Yarde. You started to see him not engage as much. You started to see him take that back step and look to play more defense than defense to offense transition. Benavidez was systematically breaking him down. We get to the 7th round, and this is how much of a gangster Benavidez is. He goes into that 7th round not looking to let up, not looking to take a foot off the gas pedal, but looking to slam that pedal through the floorboard as he got even more volume off in the 7th round. Had Anthony Yarde up against the ropes, hit him with a right hand left hook, nose broken probably, bleeding profusely, and he punches him down to the ground. Let's say that again. He punched him through the ground. Now, again, I think he landed a couple as Yarde was getting to the ground, and his knee may have been touching the ground, and Benavidez landed a couple more. Referee took 2 points away from David Benavidez in that moment, which I don't think I've ever seen 2 points on one occasion like that. Maybe he hit him with 2 illegal shots, which is why. But Benavidez was trying to put him through the ground. And again, I don't think it was like bad sportsmanship or he was trying to do something against the rules, just got carried away a little bit. But my point is that's how much violence he wanted to inflict even in the 7th round. And he didn't care that he got the 2 points taken away because about a minute later, he followed up even more and stops Anthony Yarde with a nasty, brutal left hook. I mean, blood was flying through the air. It looked like a horror film in that 7th round. And it was a devastating left hook. The referee saw Anthony Yarde start to get dizzy and wobbly, and I think one more punch would have dropped him for good. But he steps in, the fight is stopped, and David Benavidez says, let me remind y'all who El Monstro really is. No decision victory. This was an absolute systematic destruction from David Benavidez. This was huge for his name, for his career, for, again, to re-exemplify that El Monstro mentality. And man, I mean, I get goosebumps watching that kind of performance because that's the type of boxing I like to see. That man is nasty, and he's violent, and he knows he is, and that's what he wants to be. That's what this sport is supposed to be. Yes, we have the sweet science of hitting and not getting hit, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that's your type of boxing that you like to watch, I understand. But boy, there is nothing like watching a dude like that that's just a bad motherfucker, excuse my language, go in there against another bad motherfucker in Anthony Yarde who's been there with other bad motherfuckers and make him look obsolete, make him look silly, just make him look like he's not even in the same league as David Benavidez. And that's exactly what he did. Benavidez keeps his WBC light heavyweight championship, but then we got the announcement of all announcements. After the fight, you're thinking, okay, maybe Benavidez goes and fights Artur Beterbiev, or we've heard the stories about him and Bivol sparring, but then we think maybe that Beterbiev and Bivol are going to do the trilogy. It is 1-1, although I don't need to see the trilogy. I think we've seen enough from both guys, even though if you want to do the trilogy, that's fine. But David Benavidez swerves the whole thing. David Benavidez says, y'all can have your trilogy. Matter of fact, y'all can have light heavyweight. I'm going to cruiserweight, and I'm going to fight Zurdo Ramirez, son. That's right. The WBO cruiserweight champion of the world just fought and beat Daniel Dorticos. I think it was this year, in June of this year. But he does have one loss on his record, and it was to Dmitry Bivol at light heavyweight, but then he since moved to cruiserweight. He's had some very good wins. I'm going to be honest, though, he did not look great against Dorticos. And the way David Benavidez fights, with that type of volume, with that type of nasty, with that type of gas tank, he doesn't slow down. David Benavidez might win that fight easily. I'm going to say that now. He might win that fight easily. We'll see what type of shape Zurdo comes in. We'll see how he approaches that fight. Zurdo, when he's in shape, when he's taking a fight seriously, and again, I don't know what happened in that Dorticos fight, but he did not look good at all. He looked like a heavyweight in there. But when Zurdo is on, his feet are moving. He's a good volume puncher, great boxer. He better have some of that and more when David Benavidez rolls into town at light heavyweight. If not, that motherfucking monster is going to destroy even at light heavyweight. He's got the frame for it. He's got the size. Hell, he's taller than me. I'm 6'4". I don't think David Benavidez is going to struggle in that fight even a little bit. So Zurdo better pack a lunch, because I did not expect that announcement right here. I'd heard the rumors that Benavidez was going to go to cruiserweight to potentially fight Zurdo. I thought maybe he'd stay around and fight at light heavyweight before doing that, but Benavidez is on the move, and he said he's doing it. Here's the other interesting part: on May 2nd. In other words, he's putting his flag in the ground. That's a Canelo fight date. That's a Canelo fight time. That's usually May, September. Canelo dominates those 2 dates in a year. David Benavidez said, if you're going to run from me, if you're not going to fight me, I'll take your dates. There's a new sheriff in town. There's a new star in Mexican boxing, and his name is El Monstro. So yeah, man, what a fight. What a card. Ring 4, once again delivered. Turki Al-Sheikh killing it with the matchups, and these fighters understanding the opportunity that they have. The guys like Abdullah Mason, even Sam Noakes, even guys like Devin Haney moving up and getting his 3rd belt, dropping Brian Norman Jr. when all the talk was about Brian Norman Jr. being the devastator, being the knockout artist, and Devin comes up, drops him, and essentially shuts him out and wins a decision. Bam Rodriguez absolutely doing a number on Puma Martinez. That was nasty work, treating him like he wasn't even in the same ballpark, even in the same league, even in the same stratosphere. Would love to see Bam and Inoue, even though Inoue's probably a little too big, but hey, we need some big fights for the little guys. All in all, fantastic event. Let me know what you guys think down below. What's next for all those guys? What's next for the Ring Magazine is Ring 5 coming up in just a couple weeks. But boxing's on fire right now, so make sure you guys stay subscribed, hear the W.A.D.E concept, and whatever happens next in the sport, don't have those answers, but guess we'll find out.